No Prince Charming.
Hello, I'm back. Welcome to the Community Killers. Hopefully, back into the continuing. Thank you very much, Mike, for liking the stream. I'm back. I have had a very busy couple months. I'm sorry that I didn't let you guys have an interim little heads up about what's going on and what has been transpiring. So, I had the last time that all of us spoke, other than on the Facebook page, I've kind of been doing little updates there. Is that I think it was on the 27th of April. So it's been almost 2 months, a little over 2 months to the day. What had happened is that I was supposed to have a game against this gentleman that just liked the stream, Michael Blarg, who is also known as Fatal Swordsman on Twitch. We were supposed to have a game of Mechano Lilith versus Death Chev 2 or Karchev 2 or Death Jack 2, whichever way you want to call it. However, I ended up having a really, really big blessing happen in my life, and we ended up having my daughter. She was born on April 30th, and she is now 6 weeks old. Actually, over almost 2 months old, should I say? 8 weeks old, and she's been an absolute blessing. My original plan was actually going to be coming back after a month, so around the beginning of July, and to begin casting out, doing more streams, doing more podcasts, really hitting the road again. However, I ended up having a tragedy in my family, and my sister ended up passing away shortly at the beginning of June. So, with that said, there is a lot of things that go on in people's lives, and I hope all of you can understand that I did have to take a bit of a step back, only for the period to really get a lot of things in order. And there's still a lot of things that still need to be getting into order, so I won't be doing 2 casts a week at this time, or 3 casts a week, but I will be doing 1 cast a week for sure going forward. And be it either a war table game, or doing a paint-a-sode, or doing a podcast with the Shoulda Boosted guys, whatever it is, there will be content coming out again, and I promise. If you guys, what content you guys would like to see, because there's 277 of you. I was kind of bouncing around that 277, 276, 278. It was fluctuating up and down. It was really cool to watch. And I'm still getting lots of views. I really appreciate all the views and all the watch time that you guys are still enjoying. So if you guys want to see more, what do you guys want to see? Do you guys want to see War Table again? And just keep hammering out those. Also, on a side note, I'll be able to start recording some live stream, or not live stream battle reports. I'll be able to start recording some live battle reports, because open gaming, tabletop gaming, like actual physical, when we used to play this with models, that's happening again. We have new models that haven't seen the tabletop literally in forever. And I want to scare people with strange bedfellows again. So with that said, the conversation that me and Brian are going to be having on the podcast today is going to be the Storm Division update. We're going to have the SR 2022 update, and 2021 to 2022, and what we could see in the new meta. And that's going to be kind of focused on what we've seen in the past over the last year, through the pandemic in War Table, and how that's going to be affecting what people play now. And to be honest, I've seen a little bit of everything so far on the tabletop. I've had 2 gaming nights or 3 gaming nights now with face-to-face action, which it's so good to roll dice again. It's, for me and how busy my life has been, it's been so nice to be able to roll dice and see people's faces. I mean, half of them, but well, I guess I should go. Oop. I'm new at this. Just like below the nose, above the chin, or above the nose, below the chin. There we go. Now I got it. I'm not one of those people. I wear my mask properly. But it's at our first local steamroller is actually going to be happening at the end of July, which I'm super stoked for. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to play into that because of this new reset meta. I mean, I have a good educated idea of what I'm going to see, but I'm really looking forward to seeing all these people and new players, new faces. I'm already planning for my first con, which is going to be Attack X in September. And I'd like to do a shout out to them for putting on an amazing event, because we didn't get to go last year. So I'm super stoked about this year. And all 2 viewers out there, thank you very much for joining the channel. I love seeing you guys again. And I'm super stoked to start doing this again on the regular. Again, if you guys want to see live battle reports, if you want to see war table battle reports and live streams, if you want to see podcasts, if you want to see paint episodes and what kind of models you want painting, I literally have thousands of models in backlog of all different types of games, from Reaper miniatures to 40k to fantasy to everything. I have a little bit of everything. If you guys want to see something particular painted, you tell me. I'll pick it up and I'll start painting in my mediocre style. So with that said, I'm going to be jumping into this with Brian. Brian's actually waiting in the line very, very patiently to chat with me about the Shoulda Boosted, and we'll just get right into it. Thank you very much, guys, for sticking around in the channel. Thank you very much for being supporters. Thank you very much for enjoying all the content that has been watched so far. And I promise you, I'm going to keep this channel going. I'm going to keep pushing for more content and exactly what you want to see. That's what the most important thing, what you want to see. So now that I've got that out of the way, I'm going to bring Brian into the chat. And he's probably watching right now. He's probably like, that tool bag. What is he doing? Think he can introduce Malorian? Well, that's how this works. I introduced Malorian to my podcast, but technically Shoulda Boosted was started by him, so there's some kind of teamwork there. All right, here we go. Brian, we're live.
Nice.
Yeah.
And congratulations on the new one.
Thank you very much. She is a dream. For the purposes of the online protection, her name is Eam.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, Eam is doing super good. I'm a happy father. It is a dream. Like, she is an easy baby. It's my first baby that I've had to care for, but it's actually my third child. So it's really, really fun, and watching her grow and kind of like make these little leaps and things. It's interesting. I really enjoy it. I'm a proud papa.
Now, you say it's an easy baby, but to be fair, it's probably your wife that's doing most of the work right now, right?
100%.
The feeding every 2 hours and stuff.
100%. I cannot, like, my wife is an absolute angel for taking care of the baby while I'm at work, and taking care of all of its needs, like most of the needs. Like, I try and do the things that I can, like, as a father, you're limited on so many things that you can do because you're just not biologically set up for that. So I do the things like, anytime that I can change a diaper, I change a diaper. Anytime that I can give her a bath, I give her a bath. The things that can be done, I do. So I like being hands-on. I love her. She's a great ball of joy. She's actually what happened today was, my wife, like, surprise, we're gonna go camping. I'm like, I have a recording with Malorian, and I'm like, she's like, oh no, okay, so you go by the house, pick up the dog, drop the dog off at the trailer, then we'll eat dinner, and then you can head back to the house, and then we'll go get the and then you go do your recording, get everything done, and then meet us back at the trailer. And the trailer's air conditioned, so it's going to be a glorious sleep tonight. If you aren't from the Edmonton, Alberta area, it is so hot. It is so, Western Canada in general, it is so hot right now.
Yeah, I've been living in my basement.
Oh my god, basements are made for this weather. So I kind of gave an intro on the podcast, or on the live cast, about what we're talking about. Whenever you're ready to start the recording, you do your thing.
All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 43 of Shoulda Boosted. I am one of your hosts, Brian, also known as Malorian, and with me is another one of the hosts, Ian. How's it going, Community Killer?
It's super good right now. I am really enjoying myself, and I love recording. I'm so happy to start recording again.
Yeah, I know I've been getting some messages about like, oh, when's content gonna be starting again? And like, okay, hold your horses. Now it's the right time.
Both of us have had kind of a really hectic couple months sort of thing. So you know what? This is the time that we come back. We bring back our glorious comeback.
Exactly. And so unfortunately, Mark doesn't seem like he could join us today, but we are going to be covering in this one here two different official releases. We're going to be going over the Storm Division Dynamic Update, and then we're also going to be going over the new Steamroller set that's out there now for the 2021. So I think what we'll start with is the Storm Division, and I think that a good way for us to kick this one off, Ian, is because I already kind of did my drunkisode on this, is that maybe I'll set this up for you and then kind of like get your takes on these.
So what are we going to start with first? Let's start with Storm Div. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's all I was saying. Just starting right at the very top there.
All right, so we got an Avenger. We had a point cost change to 15. Avenger wasn't really taken before. I don't know how much people are going to be taking him now. Comparing him to an Avalancher is not really pertinent, but I think it's more viable. I mean, point cost changes are always good. I can't complain.
Does an Avalancher have stall on its weapon?
No, but the Avenger never makes it to combat anyways, so prove me wrong. Yes, it tries. It tries super hard, but at least with the Avalancher, you have, I mean, so many reasons. It's ARM 21 base.
Pretty good, not gonna lie.
I think it's ARM 21 base, right? It's 19 plus a shield.
Sounds like it. I mean, points went down. We're still not going to see it much, right?
No, I think that's pretty much the hot take that we're going to get on that. There's not much that's going to happen with it. However, the next one, the Centurion, it was good at yes, it is an expensive jack, and dropping it down to 16 points, you're still going to see it in other people's lists. Super good. And they gave it shield guard. Be like, oh, so they're going to drop it down in points and give it an awesome ability. So it's going to walk around with Arcane Shield at ARM 24. Sweet. Print it and ship it.
Now, I've been hearing some mixed reviews of the shield guard on here. A lot of people are saying like, oh, who cares? We have Battle Priests and Morrowinds now. But I mean, my take on this is that this Centurion was always this movement 4 slow jack that spent most of the initial game trying to catch up and get there. And having actually like a role of being a shield guard seems like that's the perfect thing for it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think that you just made a utility jack that's taken. I mean, as much as people take Signar, taken, and then made it even more takener.
I think another thing to think about here as well is that whole linking of shield guards, where you might have tons out there, but this is just another way we can like link them over. Now, like, aha, you killed something over here, now it has vengeance.
Yeah, exactly. And in the chat, thank you very much, Mike. Yes, it is 33 degrees in most people's houses. It's terrible. And he also dislikes the fact that Centurions are coming out of the woodwork, and they're going to be showing up in big time. Actually, what's the caster on the horse that I love? Cray, yeah. Cray with Centurions. This would be so good. You're going to be able, like, you're not going to get an extra Centurion, but you're going to be able to get more out of that list. Centurions are amazing with him.
At one point, I owned 6 Centurions to run with Cray. I'll have to see if I still have those. I think I sold at least one of them, though.
I have 3 at least. And I think 3 is kind of like the point where you start hitting critical mass. When you get 4, it's like, okay, you're doing something scary.
Now, are they the sad old ones, or are they the powerful new ones?
They're the powerful new ones. I have one. Actually, no. I do have one old one. I do have a 4th one. The big old pewter one. I forget even what I have. Yeah, it's noticeably different. I love the model though. It's out of the War Machine Jacks. I love big shields and actually, I like big shields and big axes, but big shields and big spears are also a good second.
Now, here's another issue with the Centurion is it seems like the game is tending towards big alphas, what can throw out the furthest, and Centurions don't. So do you feel that they still will have a place in this meta, even with these big increases?
Polarity field is baller. I mean, when you have polarity field, you have a delivery mechanism. And again, with certain casters, he does definitely have a place. Like Gray has threat extends him what, 13 or 14 inches? So I know 13 inches isn't strange bedfellows, but into a lot of lists where you have an armed 24 jack like coming at you from 13 inches away, that's a big deal. That's not something you can ignore. You have to go after it because it's going to stall your scenario play and potentially clear zone, unless you put way more resources than 16 points into it.
Yeah, I am interested to see where it goes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like the armor skew these days, like anything, armor 21 is when stuff starts getting good. Armor 24 is when it actually gets good because of how hard everything is hitting right now and the amount of debuffs. I mean, you look at the standard list, you're getting a +6 or -6, like whatever swing you want to call it. It's still armor 18, so it's still good.
Yeah, agreed.
Defender.
What do you think about the defender?
Change point cost to 14. I'm good. I like the defender. I would like to take it more, and this entices me to take it more. I like big cannons.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to find those 2 points to upgrade a ironclad to a defender, right? Like that choice of do I have one less battle priest or something, and then now this thing is a big gun. I think is that a good option to have.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, getting that that initial sandpapering on approach, it's super good. And I mean, focus really isn't that hard to come around for Signar to be able to throw it out willy-nilly. So yeah, it's a good choice.
Now people are going bonkers over this next one. What do you think about the Reliance?
I don't know. I'm so on the fence about it. Like, I read it. I'm like, okay, Accumulator Storm Knight, that's pretty good. And armor, and it's a POW 10 hazard that it leaves on the table. All right, I can get behind it. Like, it's good. It's an all-rounder, which kind of detracts a little bit from it. But I like it. Pulse Hammer. Yeah, it's critical hit. It's a 4-inch AoE knockdown. Again, it's one of those, like, do you spend the extra point to upgrade to get an accumulator ironclad? Would you do it? Would you spend the extra point to get a Reliant over an ironclad?
I mean, if I have that point, why not, right? Like, it seems like this is a Nomad versus Toro thing, right? Where it's like, it's like you get so much for that 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, the Pulse Hammer is 1 POW less than the ironclad, but you also get a full range attack out of it. It's better than a fist.
Accumulator. Like,
and accumulator, yeah. And it's an AoE that persists, which, I mean, you love when things persist and can screw with infantry, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even hear that in my microphone. I could hear the grumble from 50 kilometers away.
Yeah.
What do you think of Thunderhead?
Sure. Moving on to that one. I mean, so the point cost went down again to being just at 18, and they upped its fist to be now P+S 18. And this is one I'm not a big fan on. I think this was a really lazy change.
I think if they wanted to push this to the point where Thunderhead was going to be taken consistently, dual attack.
Well, it's also an idea too. Like, what is this jack supposed to be? It's supposed to be this big lightning machine going out there, pulsing, zapping things. And sure, the point cost going down. I'm not gonna poo-poo that. That's great. But it should have had something to do with that whole lightning zappy thing not getting stronger. And again, like, I might be like looking as weird because I'm going in and saying, oh, P plus S 18 fist, that's dumb. Well, why would this thing be P plus S 18 and being the same damage output as being like the Centurion with its big huge spear, or the Ironclad with its massive hammer? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So whether it's dual attack or anything else, they just went completely the lazy direction.
I don't know. I don't see fists that have giant lightning electrodes coming off anybody else's fists.
Yeah, that's for zapping. That's the gun part.
I look at the shoulders and like the back is the gun part, like giving like a big wave or something. But I mean, that's I guess we're getting into theoretical lore art driven stuff. But yes, was it a lazy change? I agree. I think they could have given him just a little bit more. But it's still a buff. It is. I'm going to be an optimist on this one.
But I mean, if you're looking at this and you're trying to say, at what point are you going to be investing the 18 points to get a Thunderhead? The reasoning is not going to be because it punches hard, right? If you want something that punches hard, you're going to take something much, much cheaper.
I mean, if you run him with Kane Zero, there is a viable. It is viable.
Oh, sure. Like, I did that before, but that was more with the zappy stuff. Like, they should have gone with the dual attack or something. Like, my idea.
They could have left him the way he was and just give him dual attack, and he would have been taken.
Yeah, or make it so that it does disruption automatically, not on crit, or give it a spray version they can do as well. Like, there's so many interesting ways. And
I thought they did. I thought it was flat disruption. I just looked at his card and it is critical disruption. Okay. Yeah. That's unfortunate.
So this will still be a jank model you'll see sometimes, but I mean, I don't think you're going to see this much at all.
No, and we both agree there could have been a lot that they did with him, and they just chose not to. Like, if they would have left his melee the way it was and just improve his range output, I think that would have been best. But I think they kind of stayed away from doing that because of the potential ramifications with some casters like Nemo.
Even then, I mean, here's your straight across. Are you going to take with Nemo this, or are you going to be taking a Storm Strider?
Why not both?
Because you can't fit that many 18-point models in there, right?
Yep,
Nemo
battle
3,
group points.
Automatic double Storm Strider, throw in your Dynamo in there.
Yeah, you take the Thunderhead and Dynamo and 2 Storm Striders. You got the beginnings of a list.
You know what? Also, the nice thing on here is so that when you're wondering if you should be taking that automatic Firefly, maybe give that rule here, the ionization.
Oh, that would be really cool, actually. Why don't we design this game? Why don't we get some say on this? Wait, it didn't go through CID.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that in a second, but yeah. All right, should we move on to the units?
Yeah, I think this is the one that I have the least experience with, but have read the most about. So you've actually played with the Stormblade infantry numerous times, I imagine, in different iterations. How do you like the changes? Because from my own perspective, anytime that something gets +1 defense and +2 POW on their melee and defensive stats, that's real good. And getting bonus armor, that seems like a really nice quality of life change.
Yeah, so the biggest thing to ignore when you're looking at this is the extra damage and range, because before it had this annoying rule that you had to be within 6 inches of the leader in order to get +2 damage and +2 range. And so it was always like this double command range you had to kind of keep in mind, one for your cohesion and the other one so that you can actually get the bonuses. Okay. And they said, screw that. If you're in the unit, you're just getting those bonuses, and took that away. The extra defense, sure, it just seems it's getting more in line of where we're actually seeing regular stats now. Like 13's the new average, if not the low average. The other part of that too, I mean, if we're just talking about them all, I mean, now the Stormblade UA is giving them relentless charge. So that always was annoying when you had this like elite unit that's like, oh no, a wall, and then they can't do anything.
A forest,
So
my
it's
greatest
nice to have that
weakness.
too.
Yeah. I think they're good. I mean, did they get a points drop as well? No. They didn't get a
No.
points drop. I mean, Relentless, if anything, okay, so basically nothing changed other than +1 defense and gaining Relentless Charge. Easy sum up?
So, I mean, the other small thing is that you could say that they got the assault ability, because it used to be they got assault only from the UA. Now it's automatic, and now the UA gives Relentless Charge instead. But yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. And they give +2... No, these aren't the ones that give the electrical damage debuff, does it? Or buff, should I
No,
say?
that's going to be coming up later.
Okay. I mean, quality of life increase, is it enough to see them? I think overall, like what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've read is that most of what we're going to be talking about is that they've kind of brought up, rather than just being crap, to turning into a mediocre force. So, because how many points is Stormblade's worth?
Oh, well, I mean, there's the unit, but then you always take it with the UA, and then you pretty much always want to take it with the weapon attachments too. So you have to look at all three parts all together.
Okay, so they are, where is it? Unit size. So it's 9 points, 5 with the CA with the command attachment for 14.
Yeah.
And then another 6 for 3 weapon attachments. So that's 20 points for a unit of 9, 11, 14 guys.
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
So
It's
the funny
it's a
thing is,
fat
like,
unit.
listening to like line of sight, they're like, oh my god, these guys do so much damage now. Again, not realizing that their damage output never changed. But I mean, like, if they charge in, they can be, you can have something that's debuffed. They're doing the assault shots at POW 14. They're getting all the hits with their weapons as well.
Yeah.
But they don't threat that far. And the reason why they didn't do well before is because they got shot down. And that's probably still going to happen. Like, Defense 13 won't change that. Although there will be a solo coming up that might change that.
Yeah, because they're Rat 5, so that becomes an issue for them for hitting.
Not really, because if you look at their gunners, their little weapon attachments, if only one of those hit, everything else automatically hits.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wow.
you're going after like a jack or something with low defense anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, again, it's 20
Give a
points
Storm
for
Strider with
14
the
guys.
+2 to hit.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I can... Okay. I'm seeing this a little bit more. Do I think... you're trading 20 points for a jack. And you hope that another jack doesn't come in and trade up on you.
My guess is you're paying 20 points to lose it all to a Death Archon, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. However, were they better than they were before? I would absolutely say so.
This is like the Marner, where it changed to have it so that you didn't have to be base to base to load the gun. You have to be within an inch. It still needs some work, but yeah, there's some, it's a little bit easier to use.
Yes. That's for sure. Like it seems like it's a lot easier to be able to manage how they work. Give me 1 second. I have to ban somebody. Oh, I'm gonna pause that.
Oh.
I need to ban
Is it
somebody
Mark?
from my Twitch chat. It's a bot.
Those bots, I
That
tell you.
bot. Oh, I just basically got told, hey, want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on crap.com.
Well, while you're banning, I'll tell you about the Storm Guard infantry. So the Storm Guard, and those are the ones that are the infantry that do electro leaps. What they got was Wall of Steel. So now if they're base to base, they get +2 armor. Their defense also went up to 13, and then their whole gun thing changed. So they used to have a weird thing before that if they hit, depending on how many hit, it got like a big shot. And now it has something else where it doesn't matter how many things hit, but it's going to be having this kind of like ionization. It's called electroconduction, and it's an AoE attack. And
That's
it's the
what I
same
was
type of
thinking
thing
about.
Yeah, and then you get +2 damage there on electrical damage roll. So what do you think about here?
So I like the extra damage, the damage debuff or damage buff, whichever way you want to look at. Also, thank you very much, Thomas, for liking the channel. I do enjoy the +2 to damage for electrical damage rolls, because what's the damage buff now? You have +2 from these guys. You have +2 from a Firefly. What other electrical specifics can you throw on there?
That's it for electrical. Then you're getting into hermits or whatever else you want to use.
I mean, it seems like a good. What's the point investment on these guys? Stormguard infantry. Sorry, guys, I'm just pulling up the card now. So their investment is 15 points. So they're a 15-point unit to be able to do that. And it's a range.
And I think that if that's what you're looking for, this is for the debuff, you're just going to take a min unit.
Yeah, which is 9 points, and it's a range 10 gun. That's not bad.
5.
We're at 5 at 4-inch AoE though, and you just have to scatter.
Yeah, I think that the hard thing here too is that like you have a combat unit that wants to charge, but if you're charging, this guy's probably not shooting. So it gets kind of weird in that way.
It does. It's kind of like a weird skirmishing unit, right? Like you kind of want to bounce around a little bit. It'd be good for any kind of spells that you'd be looking at, like a repo, like tactical supremacy or stuff like that. Yeah, I mean the +2 to electrical damage rolls for 1 round, but to do that for 9 points, you can get that +2 damage from other sources pretty easily.
So what I've been hearing is that in your list that might have multiple Fireflies, you take out 1 Firefly and put in a min unit of these guys, so that basically you have 5 models in front, just kind of like being blockers, and then the one there trying to apply the debuff.
Yeah. Yeah, even if you just throw out the blast.
You're going to see people try that at first, and then you see them being shot down and him missing his shot all the time, and then just go back to the Firefly.
Yeah. Like really, it's probably gonna end up what it's gonna be is they're gonna try using it and then realize, ugh, I have to manage infantry in an anti-infantry meta. No
well,
thanks.
Let's look at their cousins, the Silver Line.
I like the Silver Line Stormguard. I do. I like everything about anything with polarity field in this kind of meta. I do like.
All right. Do you want to introduce these guys then?
So we have Wall of Steel on the leader. So they get +2 arm and everything to the grunts. They're def 13. The point cost changed to 9 for a minimum, 15 for a maximum unit. It's a great change. There is no electroconduction ability. Instead, they get the voltaic snare ability, and voltaic snare is -4 defense to any warjack that is hit by it, is -4 defense and cannot run, charge, or make slam or trample power attacks for 1 round. I like units with polarity field, and these guys have polarity field.
Now, the first thing I want to point out is that their shot changed, and their shot used to be one that did extra damage from electrical stuff, and nobody took them. But, you know, maybe things will change. But I definitely like what they're doing now. Like, this now makes sense, right? They'll charge in and then do this voltaic snare shot, and that can actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, they actually have a way to deliver this unit. As scary as it is. I mean, they're going to be arm 17, def 13. Respectable for infantry. Like it's still victim stats, but you have to work so much harder to get on there. Is season 24 live yet? This is not actually the Diablo stream. I appreciate your question, Jason, but we're talking about War Machine tonight.
So, I mean, these guys are a little bit more interesting to me for sure, but at the same time, it's still, I don't know. I don't think we're going to see them. Yeah,
I would like to think that we would. But yes, it would be on those niche cases where if you have a Kruger meta that is just like, that Kruger player is just like stomping your local meta, and then you bring your Storm Div and then pushes him out. That's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah. Storm Tower. So this one here, its speed changed to 3 just to make it a little bit faster. It got Storm Call, so that can actually ignore concealment, cover, and stealth, kind of like the regular solos. It got it lost its crit disruption, and now is just straight up disruption. So what do you think about this?
So with the same issue that I have with the voltaic snare, I have with models with disruption. I don't like abilities that only focus on half the game. And I have an issue with that. And I don't know if we're going to see them popping up. I could be wrong. But I don't see them. I don't see that we see them any more than what we see them already. It is a vast improvement, though.
It makes it a lot more tempting as your free choices. When you're doing like your,
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there's the change to speed 3, like, oh, cool. Like, you're still not going to be getting out your shots on first turn, but you're still... I want to see somebody do something with this unit. I really want to see it, because it's great for sitting in the edge of a zone and just blasting stuff. But at the same time, what are you going to be shooting at?
Yeah, I mean, I own 2 of these, but normally they just don't really do enough. Like you try and shoot one thing and get a couple of electro leaps and then they die.
Yeah.
But now that you could try disrupting something, that might not be worth it. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I mean, we got to build some lists and give it a shot on the tabletop before we can really complain too much, right?
Oh no, we can complain. We're a podcast.
Guess we can. Yeah,
job.
It's true. Like, let's just give everybody the let's just do this whole CID dirty, or not. It's not even CID. It's just an update.
Yeah, we'll get to that after too.
Yeah.
Grenadiers. So they went down to 5 points, defense up to 14. They now have advanced deployment, and they also have repo 3. So what do you think about these guys?
This might be one of the most creative changes in this entire update. Anytime that a unit, to get their delivery method in there, it gets advanced deployment, I love that. And I like this unit, and I want to be able to use them. And they are a cool multi-skill, like a multi-use unit. Like they have a broad range of things that they can do. I like it. I do like this update, and with repo 3, it makes them even more survivable. I know that they're blast bait, but at the same time, I want to see them on the table.
Yeah, I owned 1 unit just because I want to own at least one of everything, and they just couldn't do it before. But now that they're actually further up there, I can see it. And it's that thing where they could get in there and throw their little grenades and then actually like repo up further to jam, so it set up the charges from the other stuff. I like it.
Okay, also correct me, correction on that. They aren't blast bait. They're actually immune to blast, and they're def 16 against range. They are deliverable.
It's just before they had to be on your main line, so like it didn't really work to deliver them and your main guys at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. So, and I mean, their weapons are solid. Like they're between galvanic blast, kinetic grip, and voltaic vortex. Those are all 3 viable uses in this meta. Especially those POW 10 blast damage AoE hazards that remain in play for your infantry, Brian.
It only stops me and my infantry. Nobody else is taking it.
Who else runs infantry?
No one.
No one.
It's just me.
You haven't ran an infantry list in a long time. It's just you, though.
Just me. Solos. Our first one here is the Stormblade Captain. Its point cost went down to 4, def up to 13, and now it actually can give out Desperate Pace.
Best part of this whole update. Best part of this whole update. Anytime something gets Desperate Pace, especially in a theme that struggles for deliverability, 100% upgrade. Like, you will take as many of these as you can.
Yeah, for sure. This is exactly what they needed to try and help actually deliver and get them out there.
Yeah.
All right, and now for the biggest one, Lieutenant Gwen Keller. Went down to 5 points. Same type of changes to the weapons, just like the Storm Blades, because she's kind of like a fancy Storm Blade. Mm-hmm. Has Leadership Storm Knight, Force Barrier. And then also has Flank.
Leadership Force Bearer is really, really good. I mean, you're going to be sitting at Def 15 for potential delivering. I mean, in my opinion, I guess this is kind of leading into a different conversation later, but in my opinion, defense skews are the way of the future right now when everything hits so hard. And Def 15 on your potentially, we'll say two solid units of infantry, that's really good. And immune to blast. I like it
Yeah,
a
because
lot.
it used to just be destroyed by shooting. Like 12, 15 is nothing. You just get shot up by any POW 10s.
Yeah.
But now that you're 13 going up to 15, and then your armor is probably going to be 17 because you're base to base.
Or better.
That's just for the regular guys.
Yeah.
That's not like the Storm Blades that can do their mini feat. They're going to be survivable against regular shooting now.
Yeah, like 15, 17 is a respectable stat line. Anytime that you're over 31, the stats combine over 31, you're looking at a good potential delivery.
Now, here's my challenge. If you have Scythe and Harlow, are they still just going to take off an entire unit?
Scythe would be hitting on 7s, so she's going to kill none because you're going to miss your first shot every time. And Harlow is going to be aiming because he has snipe.
They can both have snipe.
Well, no. It doesn't really happen that easily. I mean, they're not going to take a unit off because the average dice you're going to have to work for those average dice. I think they're not going to pull a whole unit off, but they'll definitely make a dent.
Because that's something I keep in mind is that I think this made them survivable against Mark II shooting, but this is Mark III shooting, and I actually don't know if it is enough.
You don't think it's enough?
This is a world where judicators are the type of shooting you have to be ready for.
Really? I mean, if you're 10 inches away, I know judicators are going to be blasting stuff, but again, they have force barrier. Go ahead, fire your blasts out. Fire your missiles. It's not going to hurt them. They got force barrier. The sprays will hurt, but you're also getting into their threat ranges. 2 sprays aren't going to wipe out a unit. With proper placement.
It might.
With proper placement.
Might.
With proper placement. I mean, and it's rat 5 with double signs importance. You're going to be looking for 10s. Not impossible, but I think it's still that average that you're going to be looking for.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a different quality of shooting.
I think it gives them, this update gives them a chance to be delivered. I think it's good. Does it go into the meta? I think it makes them a B- or a C into the meta. And that's just something very specific.
Sure. Maybe just move this along to get the other choices. Stormcallers, they used to be weird. You have to spend 5 points to get 3. Now they're just FA 9 and they're just 1 point, and their defense went up to 14.
Perfect filler model. Like, you can't really complain about that. Anytime that you get a 1 point option, I hate sitting on 1 point with lists. I love having that 1 point filler. I mean, really, if their job is only the same job as a river raider and it's just to run onto a flag when after you clear it, awesome. I'm totally down for that.
Mm-hmm. Next one's an easy one too. Sir Dreyfus the Storm Knight became a Storm Knight and is now defense 13.
He was good before, he's even better now. Can't really complain at all. I think everybody should be happy about that. And
then probably the same thing for Savio Montero Acosta, that now again also became
his card is so
officially.
big now. His card is going to get, if he gets any other changes, Mercenary, Ordic, Storm Knight, Thamorite, like let's add a couple more keywords to his. How many other have 5-word keywords?
Not many.
No, I don't think so. I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but yeah, I think I like Savio's changes too. I do.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. Like, whereas for the Stormblades, I said ignore all the offensive buffs because it's really just was there anyway.
Yeah.
That did not apply here. Acosta did not get those buffs. Acosta just got too stronger.
Yeah. He's just like, hey, I hit really hard. I'm not taken very often, but I hit really hard, and now I hit even harder. Now, let's I'm going to take this from another podcaster, another content creator. What are your 3 free choices going to be in every single Storm Division list?
Well, assuming that I was running it the infantry way that they were talking about, it would be Gwen Keller, it would be Acosta, and then you need to have at least one of the captains.
I would say Costa, Keller, and Dreyfus.
Yeah, it depends how. You see, I this is why I get my caster killed, is because I don't protect my own caster. Now, we said we were going to be talking about this at the end. What do you think about this being just a dynamic update and not a full CID?
I think they should have done a full CID for Storm Div. I think that's the reason why they didn't get the much love that they deserved. I think they could have been tuned up a little bit more, and I don't want to see like a strange bedfellows level tune up. They could have done just a little bit more. I do like it overall, and I do like the changes. But in the world where certain CIDs have gone and like really cranked stuff up, I think that these guys were kind of left a little bit behind. But how do you feel about it?
I think this is a resource thing that they would love to have done a full CID, but they just couldn't. So it's like, here's a fast, easy band-aid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad one, right? There's good changes in here.
I just think that there could have been a little bit more on it. I just push the gas just a little bit more. Like between Thunderhead and Thunderhead could have been gassed up just a little bit more for his 18 points. And the infantry could have been bumped up just a little bit. I don't know how, but I think there could have been something. Maybe if the leader could have handed out tough, like instead of desperate pace, you get tough. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst. It wouldn't be the worst. Just like, hey, here's that little bit extra on approach. Be like, you want to get up there, or you can try and survive and get up there. Just give a little bit of a different choice on it. But between the solos, I think the solos kind of were the ones that were the winners here. Oh, and the model that everyone took already, the Centurion.
So here's my question for you, Ian. We're all preparing to go to Attack X, as we hope that's going to happen.
Yes.
What do you think the odds are that you're going to see a single Storm Division list there that actually uses the infantry?
Just one. We will see someone that is
one.
I think there'll be just one, and it'll probably be. I don't think it'll either be in the team event or it'll be in the champions event, potentially. I don't think.
Any final thoughts on this then before we move on to the Steamroller package?
Overall, I think that if they're doing these updates in a vacuum without any community input, I think this is the level that we can expect, and I think this is a good level of tweaking, assuming that everything else in the future is kind of bumped up in the same way, because this makes all these models very much playable, but not over the top.
Yeah, I'm still unsure if playable is the right word, but it's not. You're not taking complete victim stats anymore, for sure.
No, exactly. Like, you can play a Storm Division list, and if you're a good player, you could probably win an event with it. Do I think that it's going to be? It's not a meta definer though.
No.
So that's all I'm saying, is that yes, a skilled player could win with them and could do a lot with them. I don't think it's going to be they're not going to be meta defining.
They're going to see one Death Archon and a Gaspy and they're going to fold.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's a lot of souls on Gaspy. That'll be fun.
So we also had another new package that came out, which was the Steamroller 2021.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my
Now,
god, I'm so happy about that one. I'm stoked about that one.
now, unless I missed something, no actual regular rules change. It was just the objectives and the scenarios, right?
I think there was one change that, like, when I was going through it, I could be mistaken. If somebody wants to correct me in the future or on YouTube or in one of the chats, let me know. But I believe that before you could contest a zone with a single model from a unit that wasn't in coherency, or not in coherency, but not in command.
No,
but now you can't.
Yeah, you couldn't before either.
You couldn't before either? Oh, I have someone to throw into the bus then. And I'll do that later.
All right. So I guess going down to the first thing that changed is the objectives. So they changed some of those up. There's no more I'm going to be taking the healing one each time. Do you have it in front of you and want to go over them, or do you want me to go over it?
So we have Armory, which provides superior ammunition, and the change of this one is that it was one attack that before it was you could take one attack and it would be considered magical for the round. Now you can pick one weapon on a model and you get magical for one round.
Slightly better, still semi-lame.
It is much more viable to be used because there are still incorporeal models that do show up in the meta. Old Grim.
I know, but the thing is, like before, like I've seen the game where someone uses this objective, goes into the Crix battle engine, ready to take it out and be like, oh yeah, I get only one attack. Why can't this just be like your attacks are magical? Why these limits?
Because there's other models in the game that give you full magical ability, and I don't think they want to go swing the pendulum that far over on it. I know that's what I want. I just want to be like, hey, let's make it simple. All your attacks are magical for this round. It would make it so much easier and less bookkeeping. Because not only do you have to note down that this one has magical attacks, but it's also which weapon has magical attacks. So on like a prime axiom, like it's not my right fist, it's my left fist. So if I miss or I drag or it becomes a mess. Fuel cache, which is same as before. You get Pathfinder and one friendly model within 4 inches of within 4 inches of this model. Also, it's not friendly faction anymore. It's just friendly models. That's also a big thing that came with it. So if you're ever taking Archons that aren't friendly faction models, you can do anything with objectives before, I believe.
So now you can give your flying Archons Pathfinder. Nice,
yeah.
Nice.
Or you can give them netting, which is the next one. Cargo nets. During your control phase, one friendly model within 4 inches of this model, if the model is knocked down, it stands up because it's super useful in Archons. If the model is knocked down, it stands up, and the chosen model also has steady for one round while this model is in play. I like this one. I really do. Like if you see an opponent that has knockdown tech and is just like an assassination driven force, not being knocked down and having, say, something like bullet dodger on you, it's gonna help that survivability go way up. I like the addition of cargo nets.
It's all right. It's fine.
Yeah. Dugout is old. It's basically you can't be push placed or thrown or slammed or anything like that. Same as before. Observatory, give me that eyeless sight again. I like it. Wait. Sorry, it gains true sight. It doesn't have eyeless sight. Big difference. I thought it was eyeless sight. Was that always that way?
Quite there.
What's that?
I think it was always this one, but I can't remember. I always took the healing ones. Who cares?
Fair enough. I never took the healing one. I always took the treasure chest one, which isn't here anymore. And we have Wreckage. During your control phase, choose one friendly model within 4 inches of this model. This model gains concealment for one round. It situationally can be very good. Like, oh, okay. Eyeless to true sight was a change. It was not eyeless sight, or it was eyeless sight in the past. Now it's true sight.
That makes sense because one used to counter the other, right? Because it would ignore the concealment.
Hmm. So True Sight lets you see through clouds, but Eyeless Sight lets you see through clouds, and it removed concealment. The defense bonus for concealment. So thank you very much, Mike, for updating that, correcting me on that one. Yeah, between wreckage, cargo nets, and the changes all the way across, I like it. I do. I like the changes to the. I like that people aren't going to be defaulting to healing right off the bat.
Yeah, it's good that there's not a single default, but I still feel this is a spot to be improved in the Steamroller package. Like, for one, just give us all the options so you don't need to pick or make something more interesting. It almost seems like a chore to try and remember what all of them are and try and teach a new player them.
I mean, there's only 6, and we play war games. I think having the extra choices, like all of these choices, I think it's all right.
I mean, I would rather just say, like, hey, you have an objective and you either get all these at the start of each turn. You can decide which one you're going to use as you use it, or make it so you use it once per game type thing. But, like, how many games have we gone into? We get to round 2 and be like, oh crap, which objective did you take?
Never.
Never?
No, I've never forgotten which objective I had taken. Why? Have you?
This happens all the time. We're like, oh, I guess I didn't say anything, so the healing one, why not?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, I thought you were like, you forgot which objective you had. Like, you picked one, then you forgot. No, okay. No, I have forgotten to pick an objective before, yes. And then it's like, oh, I guess I don't get it. That's fine. I mean, I usually build pretty broad sweeper lists, so it's I kind of usually have an out for most. I don't like relying on a objective to gap fill, but it is a thing now. Like, I think every single scenario in 2021 has an objective in it now, which is quite nice. Also, Eyeless Sight made you immune to blind, so yes, it's another nerf to observatory. Thank you very much, Michael Blog.
Question for you. In days of yore, we used to have objectives with different armor values and like health boxes. Since you kind of like the idea of keeping them different, do you think that they should be still doing that too?
Unless there was an objective specifically that was like the armored objective and it was arm 22, I would be okay with that, but only if that was the only ability that it had. That one would be the default. If it was like, I'm arm 20 or I'm arm 22, it's like, that would be the new default objective, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the one like that, where you used to be able to take it and then you got cover, if you were behind it type thing. But
I mean, wreckage is sort of like that.
If nothing else, it was an improvement because now there's not an automatic one.
Yeah, I like the fact that it forces a choice. And I mean, really, Pathfinder is probably going to be the second most played one. And it depends on your list. You just build it around the list. Be like, hey, what's your stopgap? Be like, oh, I have no Eyeless Sight, or I have no True Sight. Boom, observatory. Every single pack, or every single objective or scenario. Someday I'll figure out what I'm talking about.
Only other thing that changed was like the scenarios. So I guess showing what we still have here. Scenario 1 is King of the Hill. So that's circle in the middle with a flag, and then the rectangle on either side with an objective. Any thoughts on this one?
I like this change. I like 1 because your clock isn't sitting on top of your zone. That's the obvious, most reasonable explanation of this. Plus, for those Focus 6 casters, it makes this far more playable because the Focus 6 casters with large battle groups, because I don't know why, but all Focus 6 casters are supposed to take nothing but large battle groups. Super good. I like this change. It makes it much more playable and easy to set up. So,
yeah, minor change, but it's nice to have.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest inconvenience like I said about the biggest inconvenience that the King of the Hill was in its original iteration, your clock had to be off table.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing to me. Scenario 2 is bunkers. So that's the one that used to have the 3 flags down the middle, and then each side had their own rectangle with an objective. And all they did was take out the flag in the middle. So what do you think about that?
You don't lose on one turn against somebody stupid spamming the goddamn flags. I really didn't like the triple flag. I didn't like how live it was. I like forced engagement, but this one was like you have to go first with most lists to get all of the flags so you can get the alpha and clear it off. Otherwise, if you go second and you can't get an alpha out, you are sitting at a scenario disadvantage.
Yeah, this one, I understand why they did it. It was a very live scenario before, especially with all the solos. And as a Magnus 2 player, this hurts me a lot because typically I would charge up and whatever side was best, I would always take the center flag and then the side one that was good for me. Now I'm going to have to go hard to one side. And, I think overall this is just a smart change.
I agree. I think this was an intelligent decision on PP's part to really bring down the craziness, and it was fucking nuts, trying to figure out which flag you're going to go for, and either if you're fast you're able to get on them, if you weren't fast you were already at a huge disadvantage. Plus if you're running a non-Pathfinder list and somebody's like, yeah, you don't have Pathfinder and you're running massive infantry, I'm going to drop a couple rough terrain templates and I'm going to double score this. See you later. Thanks for the game.
Next one here is number 3, which is spread the net. I don't believe anything changed here. This is one with the circle in the middle, and then each side has their own flag on one side and a rectangle with an objective on the other.
They did not have objectives.
Did anything change?
They didn't have objectives in the rectangles. That was the change.
Oh, they didn't before.
Nope,
okay.
This was the only one without objectives, and with the change to objectives, this is a great change. I like it because it kind of stops someone from just trying to sneakily work their way into your square zone. Yeah, I like the change. I like that every single scenario has an objective now.
Yeah, I'm okay with this one. It's fine. Makes it a little bit more alive, I think, but
yeah,
I'm not against that.
No, I know you of all people, this one isn't as crazy to score 5 on because you have so much clearing to do across such a broad swath of the table that it makes it really hard to score that many points all in one turn.
Number 4 is invasion. So that's the one with a circle on either side and then a rectangle in the middle with an objective for each person.
Literally nothing changed here. Literally nothing changed. No. I mean, if we want to talk about it, I love the scenario. I like the symmetry of it.
Yeah, it's fine. It kind of all sets up for your battle group to grind in the middle and then the units fight on the side. So
yeah, it makes for fun games.
Split decision. This is the one people will also call enterprise because on one side you have the circle with a flag on it, and on the other side, like engines, you have another flag and an objective.
I think this one might be too live. I think this one might actually get too live because of the flag and objective placement.
What do you mean by that?
So certain themes allow you to drop a wall 20 inches up the table. You can drop a wall on the other side of your objective and on the other side of your flag. And not only that, but there's a lot of scoring elements here. You can score 4 or 5 points in a turn really, really easily. Because the main bulk of your force is definitely going to be going after that circle. You want to clear that circle and try and that's the closer of the game. If you can close out that circle, you win that game. But at the same time, you can really kind of the themes that have walls are going to love this objective or this scenario.
So this is where I'm unsure about this one because you say that the key is going to be the left side with the circle and the flag, but circles are notoriously easy to contest, just putting things on little toes in. Meanwhile, if you get over on the other side and get to like destroy their objective, get on their flag, like that can be some fast points you can get just by controlling a small area. So I'm actually unsure which way I would actually push. It's probably going to be more so how the terrain is. I kind of really like how this one is.
I like how this one is too. Like I like this one, like in terms of being a live scenario. I like the lack of symmetry in this one. I do think that, and yes, I do have to default to your experience in this one, because I am not as well versed as a scenario player as you are. You're kind of the default on this one. I usually learn my my scenario plays from you, to be perfectly honest. I do like this one, but again, it's going to be very terrain dependent and theme dependent, because you can get those walls up and you can really stop somebody from getting on there. Like, you can contest that objective from quite a ways away, or sorry, not the objective, but the outlying flags to stop the scoring.
Yeah, because I guess like this one is 16 up, whereas that other one, what is it called? Spread the net is 19 up. So that's kind of the difference, hey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where like you can't even get a flag on the other side of it, or a wall on the other side of it.
Mm.
Plus, I mean, when you're sitting between that flag and the square zone, your opposing square zone, they're going to usually have stuff on the far side of the square zone, which threatens that flag pretty easily. This one,
Although I suppose if they ever did that, your whole mission is like, well, I'm going to use that same wall against you, put something on the other side, contest you, and then focus on the circle, kind of like you were first saying.
mm-hmm. And I think that's ultimately what's going to be going, is that the flags on the right will be contested, and it'll be the circle and the circle flag that'll be the scoring elements predominantly. Or it just basically that you get free points on the flags, and then everything goes into the circle.
Yeah, it'll be neat to see which way that one goes.
Yeah.
Last one we have here, I don't believe changed either, and that is Recon 2. So each side is its own rectangle and its own flag, and then you each have your own objective as well.
Yeah, I don't think anything changed in this one.
Yeah, and this is another one that I like, so overall, from what you saw in the steamroller, they kind of played it safe. Did you like what they kind of came out with?
Well, we have one more thing to talk about.
Sure.
Do you have the pack up?
I do.
Go to page 7.
Page 7?
Page 7.
Oh, you want to talk about that stuff?
Yeah,
Sure.
we have to. Come on. Craters. We got craters. They're just like trenches, except they're circular. We have quicksand, which I like the idea of dangerous terrain. You get knocked if a small base gets knocked down models lose and cannot gain Pathfinder within quicksand, and models that become knocked down suffer 1 damage point. And this is a restricted hazard. Open graves are cool. I like the open grave concept. Little tiny trenches spread out in a group between 2 to 4 graves as a single terrain feature. I dig that. Tall grass. Again,
Dig the grave. I got you.
What's that?
Dig the grave. I caught that.
There you go. Tall grass. I don't think we'll see this one much. I think somebody will just drop a forest rather than tall grass. Personally.
Yeah.
Squalls, I can see being something that will pop up quite a bit. That is a terrain feature I see people definitely taking advantage of. What's your opinion on the squall?
So, how often, not on War Table, but in our in-person gaming, did you see like the poison clouds and the flaming clouds and all that type of stuff that they had from last time?
Anytime I played in Calgary?
Yeah, Calgary kind of went crazy for it, but like when we go to Attack X, I don't expect to see much of it. We don't see much of it here. Like the problem with this fancy terrain is that because they don't sell their own, people don't own it. And on a little side note as well, the 3 different types of trenches, like, come on, just say a trench is a trench and it can be whatever size you want.
But crater. That's what our old hills are going to turn into. That's basically what it's going to be, is that our old hills turn into craters now.
Do they?
They do.
That doesn't look like a crater.
Pick up one of your old hills. I know my frozen hills that kind of look like a crater. Just need to change your perspective.
Yeah, this is just whatever you want. Just say if it's a trench, it's a trench, right? Like
Yeah.
I wish they would be just more focused on what the rules are than having it for the shapes. You know, like quicksand, what's quicksand? It's a spot that is rough terrain that you can't use Pathfinder in. The end. There's a knockdown thing which will almost never happen.
I don't know. Avengers went down a point.
So
I mean, that's an extra
1 point mean?
that's an extra knockdown cannon that could potentially put your ass in the ground and die in quicksand. Come on.
So here's something to keep in mind. Back in days of yore again, if a jack got knocked down in water, it went inert because its cortex went out. Do you know how much that happened? Almost never.
I was gonna say almost never, and that sounds super dumb. I'm super happy I started Mark 3. Like all of you people who started in like Mark 1, Mark 2. I mean, I was a 40k player at that point, and I was like, I understood stupid as a day-to-day thing, but some of the things that happened in Mark 1 and 2, that's whole like levels of stupidity I've never known.
It's just a situational thing, right? Like it has to be basic. Like, okay, you're playing against Krios and you had a stroke and decided to run all your infantry into quicksand, right? Like, when is this going to come up?
Well, I guess we're just going to have to find out. And when it does happen, we can make a big deal out of it. Big deal.
Exactly.
And windswept. Windswept is probably the biggest change out of all of it. Let's be real on that one.
Is it? I want you to think about what a windswept piece of terrain looks like.
It looks like a windy forest or windy rubble or windy whatever.
So what are people going to do? Like draw little wavy lines on their terrain and hope people understand it's supposed to be windswept?
Yes. That's what I expect.
I appreciate they're finally doing something that's anti-flying, but this just doesn't really do it.
I really thought that you were going to have some like real cheers for this one. So, spoiler for everybody, I love playing Strange Bedfellows, and I love playing Strange Bedfellows into Brian specifically because he has such a hate for it. And I understand a lot of people have a hate for it. I love this list. I loved my list well before anybody. I got told this list is garbage and nobody's going to play it. And I was insane for doing it. And then when people started realizing what Strange Bedfellows was, they were like, oh, we figured this out. This is unlocked. This is over 9,000. What the hell? And Windswept is their answer to it. This is the best thing that you got against Strange Bedfellows, Brian.
No. This means nothing to you.
No, it doesn't. 100% agree.
You know what they should be doing for flying? You know, you play 40k. You know how when you used to fly things through forest, there's a chance you might like smash into a tree and die?
No, that was jump
like
packs. That was jump packs. And those didn't fly. Those jumped. But I don't disagree that stuff like that it should happen, but I don't want to deal with dangerous terrain in another game like this. Not like that. Be like, oh, on a 1, you literally obliterate your model. Fucking cool.
I think the biggest thing here is that I would be a lot more impressed with this if they actually had official terrain, because I would buy it. I'd be buying 3 sets of it to mix in with my other stuff. There'd be a very obvious thing, right? Like this is the windswept whatever that is official from PP. Everybody knows it. But from the way that this is now, I don't expect to see any of this in a real tournament I go to.
Why don't you just pick it up third party? Because you know that like Muse on Minis or something like that is going to end up making it.
Like Broken I think egg. Some people might like craters are easy. There's also already existing craters, but again, that and open graves, they're just trenches. Quicksand is easy to make, but to me isn't really that big of a deal. I don't know. Nothing here is really going to change the game.
No, I think, like I said, I think quicksand will be interesting. Honestly, I think Squall is going to be the one that we see the most. Like if anything in here, Squall is definitely going to be the one that that is going to be the most represented.
And we didn't really say it, but what it does is that models in or shooting into it get -3 to their range.
Yeah, anything shooting out or shooting in. Which I'm pretty okay
So,
with that. I mean, if you have
I
a
mean, people might
5-inch,
say that clouds are squalls, sure, but
you put a
it's gonna be
5-inch.
just nebulous again, right? You're gonna walk up and be like, "Is that a cloud? Is it a squall? Is it a squall cloud?"
Exactly. And I mean, most of the time, players, I mean, TOs aren't going to waste their time on that. They have other things to deal with. Okay.
All
Well,
right.
we had the same thought. Go ahead.
Anything else you want to say from the Steamroller pack, or all done?
I think we're all done. I liked I like this particular pack. This is my third Steamroller pack that I've been able to review. Or no, yeah, it's my third Steamroller pack that I've been able to digest in as a player, and I like this one. I like the objectives the most. I think that's nice because there is no default.
Yeah, I think that this was a safe change, like we were talking about, and so next year, now that we have a new dev that's going to be running this, I want to see some interesting new changes. I want them to take some chances.
Oh, we're gonna have disappearing flags next year.
Give me an attacker defender.
Oh God, we're gonna have corner deployments and
Maybe.
outflanking.
So while we're on this, and just as we're getting close to a close here, one of the things that didn't come out with the Steamroller is anything new for champions or masters or Iron Gauntlet, which means we don't have a new ADR for, you know, what casters you're allowed to take in champions. What's your thought on that? Just they didn't have time for it? Do you think they're changing up the format?
I don't know. I really like it. Traditionally, they've put when they release a new Steamroller packet, they release a new ADR. I'm correct on that, right?
I believe, yeah, it was like June, July every year. They kind of released both at the same time.
Yeah, and I really do like Champions is one of I like restricted formats. I like those types of formats, and I really like playing in Champions events and conventions. And I would like to see a new ADR because it's been the same one. Like this, I played in the last con that I played in was 2 years ago, and the ADR is still the same. I'd really like to see that change before the next con. I don't want to.
Here's a question:
I don't want to
get
get stuck
What do you think the ADR should be? Because we've had years where they took weird and different casters and just tried to make you play something different. We had ones where they gave you the worst ones in every faction on purpose, and then we had ones where they were trying to go like to make a crafted, balanced meta. What do you think is the right one?
The worst. You take the worst casters in the faction and you cram them into your ADR. That's what I want to see. I want to see the worst possible casters. Like I want to see Gordons. I want to see Aurora ones with strange bedfellows. I want to see. That was silence. I heard the crickets coming from your side.
I'm waiting to say what are the worst three for Grimkin, because that was the problem with that type of format, is the ones that didn't have as many casters as other factions.
Well, you obviously prop those ones up. Like limited factions, like you'd have synth for convergence. You'd have synth, Iron Mother, and then I don't even know who the third one would be.
See, my way is a bit different. Mine kind of goes along my thought that PP should be tracking tournament data a lot closer and making their adjustments based on it. And for me, champions would just be take whatever you want minus the top caster and solo and jack in each of the factions.
That's so hard to balance and bookkeep, though. That would be so difficult.
It's not. It totally isn't. X-Wing does it all the time.
Yeah, who plays X-Wing, though? It's like 15 players. I mean, realistically, X-Wing is probably one of the biggest played tabletop games in the industry right now, but at the same time, who plays X-Wing? Come on. I think they actually are one of the biggest. I think they did end up being one of the biggest competitors in the industry.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that they, again, for the same reason on why they didn't put the time into the Storm Div, is I don't think they have the resources. PP has been in a lot of flux lately, and I don't think that they have the ability to be able to track that. I think if they commission somebody third party to do that sort of thing, then they'd be able to do that. And the data is literally publicly known on what's available. So
Yeah, it's just really too bad that there's not some sort of like tool, like a conflict chamber that could be used for, holding lists and tournament results. If only there was something official like that.
yeah, and like the biggest like digital online events that post all of the data from start to finish and top to bottom, like the VTC and Knights machine. But I mean, if only we had something like that.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. I think we're getting into another topic. We might want to tie this one up.
All right. Altogether, I think the things that they've done in the last CID, or no, I said it again, in the last in the dynamic update and the steamroller, I think it's all good, healthy choices, and I think that it's tuned maybe a little low, but safely, and I think that's what PP needs right now. I think they need stability and safety right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a safe choice, and I'd rather them go slow and steady and have something to show for it than making mistakes and fumbling at this point. But with that in mind, within the next year, they got to start planning something a little bit more exciting.
Yes, absolutely agree. I think when they do get their design team solidified and taken care of, that they and in place, that they have a path forward, and they are very transparent on what the path forward is going to be.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thanks for watching and listening. I guess, watching if you're on the stream there for Ian, the community killer, and then listening if you're here for the podcast. So, Ian, where they can find all your stuff?
They can find me on Facebook.com. They can find me on YouTube.com. They can find me on Twitch. Everything's at the community killer. If you want to chat, you can catch me on Facebook. If you want to get on the comments on YouTube, you can throw it on there. And I will be doing regular casting again because my life is getting a lot more manageable and a lot easier going. So I will see you guys all later, and I hope you enjoy.
All right, catch you later.
All right, so I'm still live, and I guess you guys get the bonus content, which is going to be the second episode, which is going to be the second recording of Shoulda Boosted, which is going to be the new meta.
I have to very quickly save this and then switch over. So just give me a second.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm live. I got 2 viewers. One of them's Mike. He's putting in his 2 cents from here to there. I'm surprised that he hasn't chimed in a little bit more on this. He's probably sitting there painting his models and whatnot.
He knows we're wrong. He knows he can correct us at any moment over the next year.
Yeah, I've been using his corrections and throwing him in there and giving him credit. That's why I'm like, oh, thanks, Mike, for the Isla Sight note. Be like, I was sure that Isla Sight was definitely Isla Sight to True Sight.
I always switch, mix up those 2 rules.
Yeah. I'll be right back while you're doing your thing. Everybody in chat, I will be back in a moment, and we will start the next recording of Shoulda Boosted. All right, we're back. Episode 2. There you go, Brian. Start whenever you like.
Hello and welcome back to episode 44 of Shoulda Boosted. I am one of your hosts, Brian, also known as Malorian, and I got another host here, Ian, the Community Killer. Hey, bud, how's it going for round 2?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. So we're going to talk about crazy meta things, and we're going to be using our psychic powers, hey?
Yeah, like we're going to try and see into the future, have our little crystal balls that have gears and stuff working inside of them, and see what kind of machinations that people are going to be making and for lists in the future.
Now, the lucky thing is, remember, this is a Western Canada podcast, so if things are different over in Denmark, that's not on us. You have your own meta.
Hey, however, I appreciate the Denmark players. If Denmark wants to try and challenge into a Canadian player, I will gladly get Google Translate. We'll play off clock, and we'll figure out what meta is better.
That's not how you get a challenge. You have to actually like swing it on them. Be like, Denmark players are garbage, and I bet they could never beat the Community Killer ever.
No, that's not how we're
going to get challenges.
All right, I want to see Denmark challenge Malorian. I want to see this super bad.
Me?
Yeah, you.
All right, so yeah, we're going to be talking about, like where we think this meta is going to be going forward and what type of lists we expect to use ourselves, and based on that, what it's going to be up against. So just before we started recording, you kind of talked about what's kind of setting the meta, because of course we've been living in a pandemic, nothing's been happening. So what's kind of created the meta?
So right now, in my personal belief, is that the way War Table has encapsulated the War Machine gaming demographic, I believe that that is going to set the meta going forward. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but either way, games are still being played in this format, and it is giving people an ability to set the meta coming out of the pandemic. I know I've played probably close to 100 games of War Table, pretty confidently, over the last year and a half, and that's pretty good. It's a pretty good sampling, and I think I've played against a large range of opponents in Western Canada. We have a pretty cutthroat meta. Like, we have a very efficient meta, and I've played against people in down in the States. I've played against people across into Eastern Canada, and it's kind of the meta that's going to be coming out of this is there's going to definitely be the power lists that we know and expect, and there are definitely going to be some very, very creative lists that people come up with coming out of the pandemic, because there's going to be some real educations that are going to be people that have been playing on War Table and then going back to the tabletop.
So let's talk about those expected power lists. So in your War Table games, what would you say were like the top boogeyman lists?
Not that it applies anymore, but Fiona was one. Strange Bedfellows, depending on what type of player you were, will be the second one. Agathon. Did I say Agathon? No, I haven't said Agathon yet. Very fast, very alpha strikey. Can't take a hit, but can deal it super hard before you get touched. Also, to take into account on that is that a lot of people didn't play on clock on War Table, and I think that's also going to be a big issue in the incoming meta, is that people haven't picked up their models, and they're so heavy, and they're so just like you're lifting like a 10-pound model to move it across the table, and you're going to forget certain interactions when you actually have to put tokens and stuff down and write things down. That's a practice skill in and of itself, and I think that clock meta is going to drive people to play smaller model count lists as well.
Yeah, and I think going with that as well, I mean, it's not, there's just one thing for saying the clock, but another thing is having that precision all the time. Whenever you click on a model, it'll tell you exactly how far it is from everything else. And now you have to spend that time whipping out the sticks. And what do you know? Now, when I put the stick down, there's 3 models that are in my way. Like, that's going to take time. So I believe that in War Table, you started seeing a lot more of the meta having some really janky, interesting things that had to do with some very in-depth, intricate, precise interactions that will not be very viable now when you just don't have that information at your fingertips. And worse, like you said, the clock is ticking away. Do you think that's fair?
Absolutely fair. I mean, have we had 2 or 3 gaming nights now on the tabletop?
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, was fairly practiced, and I played a lot of War Table. I played a lot of, not a whole lot of War Table, but a fair amount of War Table on clock. And I'm a fairly fast player. However, the game that we played that wasn't a heavy attrition game, I had 16 minutes left on my clock at the end. There was an assassination involved, but like 16 minutes is not a whole lot of time left when you're on round.
It was turn 3.
Yeah, it was turn 3. Like that's, and like I said, I'm a fairly fast player, but getting back to the models again and rolling dice, you really have to really not cut corners, but definitely shave down those seconds on your decision making again. Where you had 75 minutes on the clock, and you had a full round of deployment to do off clock. So
yeah, I think we're going to be seeing some fast impact lists, like you're saying. Like, you know, Agathon was a monster before. Agathon's going to be a monster now too, and it's a perfect one for the meta we're talking about because it gets in there and probably assassinates on turn 2, and that's it. Same type of thing with Sloan, or maybe even you could say with something like Haley 2 assassination style. You know, those types of things are designed to assassinate on turn 2. Even things like, you know, you were talking about Bedfellows, that's going to be slow, but if you play it in a way where like, look, we're going all in with Gaspy going in on turn 2, I think that's going to be where things are going to be headed.
yeah, I mean, I played Strange Bedfellows. I've played Strange Bedfellows a lot, and I play a strange Bedfellows list in comparison to what the overwhelming meta I think goes after, and it's still very efficient. It's still very dangerous. It has so much more working parts than the others. So I would definitely say that that I think the meta is going to go for the smaller model count to keep that clock advantage up. However, with that said, the Haley 2s, the potential Scars, the Scar 1s, I think. The high impact, low model count armies that can get the volume of attacks out are going to be the big winners. I've kind of went the other way and picked my own lists I've been playing are not that, only because I try and lean toward a little bit of a faster play anyways. And you have too, actually, inherently.
Yeah, I think so. But what are your thoughts like on infantry? Like already in Brawl Machine from all the War Table games, they've noticed that, look, people are just taking a bunch of solos. I think it's the same thing for 75 points as well. Obviously, there's going to be cases where you will be still seeing infantry, but what do you feel there? Like compared to where we were a year ago, do you expect to see much less infantry?
I think we're going to see certain casters that are really good with infantry will still run infantry, but I don't think those casters are going to be as prevalent as what they did before. I think we will see more of the light jack spam than we will see of the infantry spam. I mean, there's Thexus. Thexus wants all the infantry in the world to push forward and kind of do his thing. I mean, there are others available. I just think
I don't know if Thexus does. I don't think that's how the Thexus list works anymore.
True. I don't think we're going to see Magnus 2 with 50 steelheads show up.
As I look across at my 50 steelheads.
Yeah. You need another unit of steelheads.
I got the riflemen. They're kind of steelheads.
You have those things?
2 units.
Oh my god. You really are a masochist. They're painted too, I bet you, right?
No.
Oh, I got you there. All right.
Yeah. So follow my logic. if we're saying that this meta is going to be low model count, no infantry, that probably means it's going to be all these elite solos and jacks, but at the same time, there is so much out there that is good for armor cracking. We said in our last episode how it seems to be average that you can do an armor swing of about 6 points.
I think it's about 6 points.
At that point, where whoever hits is going to smash the other person, is the alpha going to be king? You know, whoever can get that long range assassination or alpha strike, is that what the new meta is?
I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch. I think it's going to be a soft alpha to go in and cause positioning fits for your opponent, and then the second hit is your real alpha. That's the one where you're like, okay, my opponent didn't like obviously traded on the pieces that I have, but now I can really get into the guts of his list. I can score a couple points in scenario and then hit him really hard, and hopefully he can't come back from the second hit and kind of like lock him down.
It's kind of funny because, like, you know, back in Mark II or something, like the first wave would be the infantry, and then the solos would be coming in, then third wave would be the jacks. Now it's like, okay, first wave, archons, second wave, heavies,
everything else.
Third wave, Gaspy 4.
Yeah. That's, I mean, really, that's how I kind of play my list, my Strange Bedfellows list. I mean, on the other side, if somebody can play infantry well, and can play like the very specific, like if they want to play against, like play the dark horse and be like, I'm gonna run an all infantry list, and they're just gonna have to roll dice after dice after dice, and like the Lucan Strange Bedfellow list, or the oh, what's her name with the that does the zombies, not zombies but the skeletons.
Oh, Alexia?
Yeah, the Alexia recursion, like, just, like, keeps swarming more and more infantry and just get them to clock. You know that game. You know that game probably better than most people. I could see that being a thing still. Yeah, exactly. I could see that thing being a thing again, just because people are so much hung up on the oh, infantry is dead sort of thing, so nobody brings a massive anti-infantry list. And things aren't innately anti-infantry. If you bring like 50 or 60 models, that's an overload right there, especially if they're tough.
Yeah, but I think the real problem is that, I mean, there's one thing to say that you'll take anti-infantry, but there's another just to say, I'm going to bring 2 Death Archons, which are amazing against heavies, solos, and infantry. So you're going to have them in your list regardless. Maybe.
I mean, there is a case for that, but again, you killed a 10-man unit that was worth 10 points or 12 points. The second 10-man unit's going to go in and it's going to kill the Archon.
But you're up.
Yeah, you're up on the trade, but if you have like a recursion or something, like either corpse or soul recursion, you're probably going to be fine.
I don't know. Maybe just to kind of like take what we were saying before and say,
also, not everybody's gonna be taking Death Archons. Let's preface that as well. Like we can say one model solves all anti-infantry, but not everybody runs double Death Archon.
You say that, but not everybody can take Gaspy 4. But in the top tables of a tournament, everyone's taking Gaspy 4.
Well, figure out a solution to Gaspy 4. My solution: threat further than the other person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A faster Gaspy 4. So it's all about the alpha.
It is, yeah.
So my thought is like, so that's my feeling, is that everything's going to be all about the alpha. And so since I don't really have list that I feel can do a further threat than my opponent, I'm going to try and just mitigate what there is out there. So like my 2 lists that I'm planning to push for a tournament would be, you know, my regular Magnus, where I don't care what your threat is, I'm going to lock you down so you can't move, and I'll get the alpha because you're stuck. And then the other one is Shay with a cloud wall, where I can just stop your charges because you can't see me. And then it also has the big, you know, it still alphas pretty hard if you don't respect it too much.
And I do love that Shay list.
Mariners and Gaspy and all that.
Yeah, I do love that Shay list.
But do you feel like that's the right way to go? Like, what's your answer to what you expect the meta to be?
That's what I'm doing. I'm running Ostrom in Hammer Strike. and I'm running strange bedfellows. So I have that all-encompassing alpha list, and if somebody gets cute and decides to bring something that can soak an alpha, I have Ostrom, and then we just grind. Let's grind it out. Let's figure it out. Like,
So we had also talked about, like, well, if nobody's dealing with the infantry, is it going to come back? Well, we also said that Fiona is nerfed and we don't think we'll see her, but I mean, Fiona is still a great infantry caster and does almost everything that she did before. And you could take Fiona with a bunch of infantry, you could take lots of different casters with a bunch of infantry. Do you think that's even a threat? You know, if you take your pairing and you're up against Fiona with 50 halberdiers, are you actually very much concerned?
yeah, I probably am, because I know that my Death Archons are going to get bogged down, and I have to go for an assassination at a really bad time. Because that list can't take a hit. And most Alpha Strike lists can't take a hit. They can't take the Alpha. So they have to be really creative on how they mitigate their scenario loss, or they have to go in and get that really bad percentage assassination.
Yeah, I kind of thought that you'd be going more with the Ostrom side and just be able to kind of like blast everything away.
That's why my Ostrom list is made, is to mitigate is to scare away, like, they don't want, I just meant in general, but I mean, in my particular pairing, if Fiona shows up with 50 infantry, I'd be like, the opposite list is going to be Shay, or something hard hitting and far threatening. Like, it's going to be Ostrom that gets dropped more than likely, because it can soak the alpha, it can deal with the infantry, and there's still boogeymen in the meta that will crush out Ostrom pretty easily, but it makes them more difficult.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't want to see Agathon. Agathon is just like the meta breaker right now, and it's really difficult because he kind of runs the more infantry than less, because he has crows and things like that, and his assassination, just with, like, you could give him a 75 point list with 3 arc nodes and he's gonna win. 3 arc nodes and Orin 2.
How about Infernal Sloan? Do you think that's going to be still a worry?
I think Sloan is our meta is so focused on Sloan. Anytime somebody talks about him, every wet player pulls out their Viros 2. Every Signar player gets their Arcane Shield up, and like so on and so forth. Everybody brings their big armor debuffing when they're like, oh my god, X player is going to be playing Sloan, and then boom, everybody has their huge armor list.
So here's something that I heard people talking about, and I'm wondering what you think about this. So in our last podcast, we were talking about the Signar dynamic update, and one of them was about the Reliant, which is amazing now for 13 points. Mm-hmm. It has Accumulator Storm Knight, and in Infernals would also have Accumulator Solus, meaning that from 0 input from Sloan, all your heavies could be fully loaded. They have a gun that's all ready for you to do your Sloan things. If you're up against infantry, there's hazards everywhere. And then if you're against something like a Virus 2 with actual like jacks you have to hit, well, you have a bunch of heavies that can hit. Do you think that has a place in the meta?
I think when people talk about Sloan doing a Sloan thing, it's more of a, I'm going to armor pierce you to death. Because I think those guns are only POW 13. Am I wrong?
Look it up, but it's something like that.
I think they're only POW 13, and the actual bubble is only POW or armor 10. So it's one of those like. Plus, if somebody did that and was like, I'm gonna run 7 of these things, I'm gonna drop 7 hazards across the table, I'm like, cool. I'm gonna find an armor 24 model or an armor 21 model, and I'm gonna run it back and forth inside and out of those hazards repeatedly, so you clock on damage rolls.
That'd be hilarious. I had never thought of doing something like that. But here's the other thing too, is like hunters are only POW 6, whereas I'm not even sure if Reliants are 13 or what the strength of the gun is. For us. But you can also take a Firefly, like one Firefly, boost that up, whereas the hunters, you're kind of stuck and you're still only 6. Like, yeah, I kind of felt like the hunters, we're already kind of like falling behind in the meta?
I don't know if hunters are falling behind. I think it's just the meta. The meta needs to find itself. It needs to find itself again, and it's going to be so isolated. And I'm really excited to see what we see. I think that there's a lot of crazy stuff from a lot of different players that are going to do these things and be like, oh my god, Sloan with like 10 reliant, or not 10, but like 7 reliance showed up and like crushed this event because nobody was prepared for it. Or be like, oh, Siege 2 with a Storm Division list just crushed out the Kruger meta. Like, cool, that's really neat too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering, like what the pair, like Agathon is a guaranteed, but does it go with Omo or does it go with Sloan, something
Lucas?
else?
The new Lucas
4.
update? Yeah.
Oh yeah, the new Lucas. That's a
Yeah.
great one as well.
Yeah, just be like, can you prepare for spellcasting of either variety?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Because
What about? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to switch gears because that was kind of Infernals, but like, what about Crucible Guard? Because I kind of feel like that's another unknown going into this because they had their update kind of at the end of where people were kind of like done doing their war table tournaments, and they got a massive buff with things like Lucas, but also like their battle engines getting tokens now.
Well, yeah, and cutting edge on models and like free focus everywhere. I'm really excited to see what a few local players do with them because they're going to be nuts. And I'm sorry that you have to experience that, but I'm super happy that you have to experience that as well first. Because it's Malorian's brother that ended up picking up Crucible Guard, and I am super stoked to see what he does with that because I want to see what that Crucible Guard meta turns into. Because there's so many Crucible Guard players, like so many players around here that have Crucible Guard that are like kind of sleeping on them right now, and they're kind of playing with other stuff, but they are going to be really good. Like,
because it seemed like pre-pandemic, Silvestro was already a very good list, and it just like you'd never played it with anything else. Yeah. Now Silvestro got better because of all the better things that you can take in that list, and now you have a perfect Lucas list to pair with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Locke got better because their arc nodes got better. Everything got better. Like there's nothing that got worse in Crucible Guard. I think that was.
And I don't even know what to even expect from those failed experiments. Like those things are also beaters.
Oh, they're gonna be engaging the crap out of everything. Be like, oh, I play Locke. I'd be like, oh, I have failed experiments that are speed 8 and can probably get faster.
I kind of feel like the higher that Agathon goes, this is why I want to kind of lead into Crucible Guard, is because Silvestro just does this kind of like cloud thing and says like, okay, whatever, I'm safe.
For now.
What?
Until they get run up on.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I've killed Psy in a cloud before. It's not easy, but it can be done. It's super difficult to get an assassination on him because of that stupid cloud. But with the double trains, with the token, the build up power, it's gonna be bonkers. Like they didn't need. Yeah. I didn't think that Crucible Guard needed a CID. Like I don't necessarily agree with their CID, but they sure got good. They got a really good CID.
Yeah, whereas like the Storm Division kind of went from garbage to meh. Crucible Guard went from good to better.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Like their Strange Bedfellow is good. I think that people are just, they haven't seen them on the tabletop yet, and that's why people haven't been like super uproary, like super angry about the CG update. They're gonna hit.
What do you think is going to be the big pair with Strange Bedfellows? Like, if you ever see Strange Bedfellows, do you still expect to see like Flame in the Darkness anymore? We haven't talked about that list in a while.
Honestly, I think the pairing is going to be Flames in the Darkness and Aurora 2, and I think it's probably going to be Striker 2 kind of has a nice ring to it, but Fiona's still really good. I'd like to see Constance. Constance is solid as hell. I still love Constance in Flames of the Darkness.
I think there's too much anti-infantry. I don't think you really see much flames at all now because of the Death Archon. I actually expect it to be starting to be paired more with Thexus. Like those lists that
Oh yeah, yeah.
Corey and Dan Cox have been playing, that's a monster.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think the only reason why I haven't started playing Thexus is because I like Ostrom so much.
And the funniest thing is, like, when I was talking to Dan Cox about this new Thexus list, the whole point of this Thexus list is to take as few Cephalix models as possible, right? You actually want to take like the Void Archons and Gaspy 4 and like the Cutthroats, almost no Cephalix whatsoever.
That's funny, especially with Sac. Like Thexus has Sacbon monstrosity as well, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just there just to soak.
Yeah, it's scary. Like I've seen it played several times, and it has a lot of power. I don't think it's Agathon good, but it's getting pretty close there.
TK casters are amazing. Yeah, I love the one TK caster that I play, or I play semi regularly. I love him. I love Ron. Ron is an amazing caster. It's just there's so many issues with him right now.
Well, and TK casters, which can set you up for a Gaspy 4 charge.
Like, oh, my base threat is his base threat is 13, which turns into 17 real fast.
Yep.
Before you start taking account to anything else.
Where do you feel that Retribution falls into this? Because they recently had a CID as well, but it seems like their lists are more diverse.
Yeah, I think that Retribution is in a really good spot right now because they have answers to everyone. It's just a matter of which casters do you slide into your pairing to manage it.
Seems like for other factions, it's like these are the casters you take, but like you're just saying, it seems like for Ret, there's probably like 6 good casters you could mix in.
Oh yeah, like right off the top of my head, Issy, Gary 1, Viros, Gary 2, Thyron. Arguably, I don't like Thyron personally because he doesn't have enough of a threat extender to pull it off. But if you can pull it off, and he gets an alpha, he's gonna ruin you. Yeah, it's an all-round really good faction. Like, and it's not just a Trident faction anymore. Like, you don't need Tridents to make that faction work. They are still very good. They're still a very, very good model, but you'll see less models with double Tridents now. I've always ran one list with double Trident and one list without.
Now, here's something that I'm kind of confused on, is because we were kind of talking about how a lot of infantry doesn't work in the current meta, but Ret lists usually have infantry as a core part of their list. Is that going to hold them back, or do they just have the right magic, which is making it work in the meta?
They have the right buffs by the right casters, and they also have the right infantry, because the new Elawir infantry is pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts. I think I'm 4 games deep with Issy with the Elawir medium bases, and that's 4 executioners, which, I mean, the executioner archon is real. And the Elawir swordsmen, or not swordsmen, the Elawir wardens are bonkers good. Like def 12, def 14 against a charge because they have set defense, and they're arm 18 with unyielding, so they're arm 20, and you throw in invulnerable resolve or whatever Gaspy's spell, or not Gaspy, the other one that converted Gorshade's spell onto medium base, and they're sitting between arm 22 and arm 24, so it's real good. Or arm 23, it's real good, and they just can get the right buffs in the right place. And when you look at other guys like Agathon, when you're looking at stuff like Gorshade, or Forshade, whichever way you want to call them, you have Arcane Vortex on a stick, on all your sticks. So you kind of can fight that meta a little bit.
Yeah, that can definitely catch you off guard. If you don't expect that your magic is going to be shut down, that can make you real sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ret's in an amazing spot right now, and I think that they again, people are up in arms against the executioners, and yes, they are super goddamn good, especially with Issy, who can just pick her crits.
Now, here's another one I was wondering what your take was convergence. Obviously, Strange Bedfellows being one list.
Yeah.
But is there any reason that you'd be doing any convergence? Like, is there anything that's non-strange Bedfellows that you see that'd be good right now?
I like the Lucan list. I still love the Lucan list. However, it is mass infantry, and we know what happens with infantry right now. And that's my problem.
Yep.
It's just not a good... It's not good right now. But they're not living, so there's kind of that. So you don't have to worry about...
I was actually wondering if you had the same hate as Signar players, because Signar players hate the fact that their gun mages are better in mercenaries, and that you see more gun mages played in mercenaries than Signar. Do you feel that as a convergence player? Like, those damn mercs taking my best stuff?
No, because I play it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but like it actually opened up the ability for me to play another faction without having to make a large amount of purchases.
Mm-hmm. And I think another one that's going to be remain to be seen is going to be Legion of Everblight, because I feel we have not experienced.
We know exactly. I know exactly what's going to happen with that. The virtues are going to ruin everyone's day. The virtues are super underestimated right now.
What do you think of things like like Bethane 2? I've heard good and bad stuff about that.
They're going to be okay, so without transmute, they're sitting in clouds for def 16, arm 18, and when you start factoring in Dragon's Breath or Dragon's Blood and all that, they're sitting on like def 18, arm 20. Really? And then they get a transfer. Oh yeah, and not only that, but with the leadership from the Virtue Solos, they can poop out a cloud, which causes everything within the cloud to become corroded, which the corroded can't be removed, and then their attacks, both their attack and damage rolls, become boosted, so they don't even have to charge. They just be like poop, and then you have like 16 attacks getting dropped on you that are fully boosted. And that's before you start talking about Scather templates. That list is really good into Strange Bedfellows. That is like an anti-Strange Bedfellow list, because they can put Scather templates all over the place. They can assault and drop a Scather template and be like, okay, try and charge me. Here's your auto point.
Just like that, I went back to Legion.
Exactly. Like, the one that I'm really curious about what's going to be happening is Scorn. I really want to see what's happening with Scorn. I really want to see what happened with Trollbloods.
Yeah, I had my list up here to see what things we're not really talking about. And so, like, we haven't really talked much about, like, Cricks or Trolls or Circle or Scorn or Minions. I don't know what to expect from them at all. I know there's some really powerful Minions lists.
Cricks,
I don't know.
Cricks is going to be real easy. Death Chev 2.
Yeah, well, okay, that's true. Yes.
That's it. Yeah, you're going to see Death Chev 2 and insert other caster. Whether it's like Scar 3, which Scar 3 would pair with Death Chev really, really nicely. Or like it's gonna be crazy. Death Chev is gonna be a bonkers model, and even I want to play that model for obvious reasons.
But you had mentioned Scorn, and like Scorn is typically take a hit and then punch back. But in this meta, I don't know if they can, because you get hit so hard.
I don't know. Hey Alec, we haven't talked about Menoth yet. We're still working our way down the list. So we've talked Cricks. We kind of talked about Death Chev, Signar. We haven't talked about Signar yet.
I think Signar is going to be Haley 2 in Siege. That's what I'm expecting to see the power from, at least in the beginning. Yeah,
I could see that as well. Kador, Butcher 3 all day long, and Death Chev. I mean, maybe not as a pairing, but the two of them, I mean, they're good. They're just solid as hell.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I would pair with Death Chev in Kador.
Maybe actually Kozlov. Kozlov Manowar would be an option.
Or the Vlad 2 Manowar.
I like the Kozlov Manowar a lot. I played that a couple times. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think it matters. I think this will be like an old Silvestro type thing. Like, okay, there is another list, but I'm playing Silvestro.
exactly. Like I brought a list because I'm obligated to, but why the hell would I play that when I can do everything with this one? Really, Protectorate. What kind of buffs has Protectorate got over the last little while? Like we got Fiora 4.
Yep.
The Malekith update. Anything else?
Nothing that really comes to mind. So
I mean, they're just
I don't
good.
know if this is a good one for Harby, because Harby was doing so great before, but now that there's so many good things to kind of hunt,
And
I don't know.
anti-healing. And a lot of anti-healing.
Yeah.
Cyrene is still very popular from what Alec is saying.
Oh,
sorry,
that's
Mike-
true. Yeah,
Mike
the
is
whole,
saying,
I have a wall and an avatar.
Yeah. And I mean, the Judicator is just bonkers good still. Like, really. There's nothing wrong with the Judicator and all the things. I mean, everything's wrong with the Judicator and the things that it does. However, nothing's wrong with it. I think Menoth is a perfectly balanced faction right now. I don't think there's anything really bad about it. I think they have lots of really good solid choices and they can do lots of things. There's no real sticking point one way or the other.
But are they also kind of in the Scorn issue where they normally want to kind of like, control things, take a hit back harder? Are they going to be able to do that okay? I think like you'll have to do the Cyrenia way.
I mean, Cyrena is a def skew, correct?
Well, it's a def skew, but the biggest thing is that she has rock wall, and so you
Yeah.
do that with like the avatar of Menoth, and then that's just such a core piece in the middle
yeah.
to control and destroy.
So it's a def skew and it's a piece trading skew. So you can
Yes.
move your models into the bad spots for jamming up the charge lanes. Yeah, no, I think Cyrene is solid as hell to be able to play into this particular meta.
Yeah, I can't think of any other caster that's probably going to be the great way to go. It'd be funny if people actually try going back to the Krios 1 gun line to try and get like that fast assassination, but I don't think that'd be the way to go with it, especially with that we have objectives that say, hey, I'm steady. It's
Double
not gonna
Judicator
work.
Malekith. Double Judicator Malekith. That's what I want to see. Or not, sorry, not Judicator, a Revelator. Double Revelator
okay.
Malekith. That's what I want to see people do with that thing. Just be like, I'm
Burninate
gonna
all the things.
just burninate everything.
Now, what do you want to see more? That or Kane 3 double blockade or Burninate?
Malekith, because I have a penchant for fire, like that particular type of fire. Like you already have like an angry caster, and then you have an angry caster with 2 big boys. You can't do a 3 big boy with Malekith, can you? I would play that in a heartbeat.
I don't know.
Oh man, I would play that in a heartbeat. Can you do 3 colossals with Can the Revelator please leave its AoEs when it doesn't hit an enemy? Please, seriously, that would be something that would be really good. I would love to see a can you, okay, Mike, Alec, can you do a 3 big boy list, like 2 Revelators and a Judicator with Malekith? And if you can, is it viable? Because I would love to play that.
Here's another one. I don't think that there's anything else with that, but Grimkin. They have the new house, which I don't think is going to do anything, but the new Archon, I think, is going to be doing tons for them.
The Archon's amazing. The house is garbage.
Yeah.
Like, the Archon and Isaiah was really, really good choice as well. Like, to be able to jack up the abilities of the Pumpkinheads, super good.
Or I just like the idea of like the clocks and the clockatrices and the what are they called? The filed archons, just all that board control and what they can do. Because again, if we're trying to deal with the alpha, well, if you throw down some rough terrain, you have 1 clock that goes in there to slow everything down. That's how you set up and make sure you get the alpha.
Yeah, I just think that I want to see pieces taking points away from the clockatrice allocation. And I think they've done that with the Archons. I just don't think that they've done it enough yet, and I don't want to see pieces. I don't want to see more Archons go into their lists either.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see, who else we haven't talked about Circle. We don't have a lot of Circle players over here actually, but I know that before things were going on, I mean, Kruger was having a big comeback.
Kruger too. Cormac has kind of been mentioned in our chats a little bit these days. Mosar was being played a little bit. I know that sounds weird, but yes, Mosar. I think that I've played against Circle more with in Brawl Machine than anything else. I mean, Tanith got an upgrade and update. I even played Tanith too in the last year, and she was pretty fun to play. But we're not going to see like a Bradius style like over encompassing killer like Circle anymore.
No, I don't think anything like that. But kind of like a boar control, threatening assassination, threatening scenario Kruger 2 list. I could see that doing okay.
Yeah, I can see that as well. Paired with like a Chromac, that would be fun to watch. Or a Balder 1.
So maybe let's try and talk about this now, just as we're trying to piece this together. We kind of like wandered around through the different factions, and some we had more thoughts on than others. But what do you think are going to be the top 3 factions over the next 6 months?
In our particular meta?
Western Canada.
Western Canada? Mercs, 100% number 1.
And by that, I'm assuming you just mean strange bedfellows, but go on.
I mean, Mercs. I just mean Mercs.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of really good Merc players in Western Canada. Grimkin are probably going to be up there. Not only because of because of skill ability of players, but because they are very strong at this particular time because of the Defiled Archons. And I'm not sure they're a strong faction as it is. And then I think is going to be Retribution.
Yeah, my 3 were going to be Mercenaries because they have a lot of strong lists. Infernals, I think they're going to still be amazing, and then Retribution because we didn't talk about Falkyr. Falkyr saying, "Hey, stay back, or else I'll get a bounty token." Okay, now I'm going to come into you and slow you all down with bounty tokens. That's going to help control this type of alpha list as well. So those are my 3.
Yeah, Retribution. We both agree on Retribution Mercenaries. I think there's a lot of disenfranchised Infernals players due to the nerf that they got during the pandemic that may have just hopped onto something else because they did take a pretty good hit. And I don't think they swung the pendulum that far, but they definitely took a hit.
They're still summoning in heavies and have one of the best assassination casters in the game.
Yes, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I don't think it makes them top 3.
All right.
Yeah. I think they're right, I would tie them with Grimkin.
All right. Let's get spicy though. What's going to be the worst 3? What will be the 3 factions that if you see over the next 6 months, you're like, yes, easy one?
Convergence. Scorn. And I don't want to say Trollbloods because I think Gunny 2 is going to be a really scary thing to just pop out of nowhere. Be like, surprise! Then you die. I think Signar is probably going to be the bottom one for me. But again, from top to bottom, I think there's only like a 5% spread. So, and everybody has really good casters.
Mine would be Trollbloods, Scorn, and then Minions. I think Minions have some has some really good stuff, but the problem with Minions is that it seems like a lot of the people that are doing it are doing it more for the memes than for the good.
Azazello with Wardens. Sturm and Drang. Caliban. Like, what? I think minions are in a really, really good spot. I think they're in one of the best spots in the game. I don't think they're
Oh,
top
really?
3. I definitely don't think they're top 3. But I think a good minion player is could clean up a tournament.
I don't know if
2?
there are any good minion players in Western Canada. They're getting real spicy.
Somebody give me a minions. Oh, I just sold a minions army. Somebody give me a minions army so I get good at playing it. Yeah, I think
I agree with you that there's a lot of power there. We've seen what happens when they, get their archons going, and when they're getting all the buffs on there, and Malvin and Mayhem are swinging out there. But at least my experience in the war table is that people were just playing them for, like I said, the memes, and it wasn't very good. So I think maybe like if we're talking like a year or two down, where people have now perfected it, sure, there'll be a real threat, but there just isn't a real strong core of minion players to be worried about.
I think that's the point. I think people are not going to expect, like, they have some of the biggest damage swings in the game, so with such easy application. I think that's really dangerous to underestimate them. Like Rask, this is gonna be like a super dumb like, if we get a really good, if we get even a mediocre minions player, they're gonna really hurt a lot of people real fast, and people will start teching for them real quick. Arcadius, like, and they got almost all the releases that Mercenaries got, minions got. All the good ones, anyways.
However, a lot of the game is anti-living, and minions is all we're living.
No, it's not. Have you ever seen Caliban, the Gravewalker? Hey,
Sure, okay,
everything is undead. Come at me.
That's fair.
They got a meta
Is
change.
it Caliban, or it would be Barnabas, right? Or
Pardon?
Maylock. Maylock is the guy who makes them undead.
Oh yeah, Maylock. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me be dramatic with Maylock, the Dreadbound. Let me double check that. Yeah, it's Maylock. I think I think there's wicked pairings in there. I think that there's really good stuff. I think Sturm and Drang, like if Infernals run unchecked in the meta, that Sturm and Drang can pop up and be like, hey, no, don't even try me.
So I guess as we try and tie this episode together at the end, do you figure that the meta that we're going into here, and we kind of talked about what we expected, big alphas, blah, blah, blah. Do you feel that this is a good meta for the game?
As long as they don't continue on with the big alpha, like the threat ranges, this better be they can't continue on with the threat ranges going bigger. They have to keep it where it is and dial it back a little bit. And I think that'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be good. I feel like this short-term meta where there's all these unknowns, right? Like, how is Legion going to do? How is Crucible Guard going to do? Like, that's amazing. I always talk about the metaphor of the Wild West, and who knows what's going to kind of come out on top. That part's good, but it's only going to last a few months. I think this meta of all about the alpha will make for not great war machine. So I really do hope that something kind of changes that paradigm pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about this game and the Alpha Strike is that it chews up a lot of clock. And right now, the way that it's going to take months, like 6 months for people to get their clock control back into place. And that's what's going to be curtailing the alphas. It's the people that can play fast and are practiced with the alpha will be able to survive that clock. But I think the alpha on clock will be what kills people, because honestly, the clock is gonna be the biggest factor in winning events right now.
And then we'll have Orgoth, and we'll see how that changes the meta.
Oh my god, I can't wait for space or for Vikings. This is gonna be so cool. I already have a budget. I'm already saving up a budget for them.
What do you figure? Should everything ambush for them?
No, everything should be arm 25 and collect corpses and have Blood Drinker. And souls.
All
They
right.
collect
Anything else you want to
souls
talk
and
about with this
corpses.
meta stuff, Ian?
Pardon?
Anything else you want to kind of say for this meta stuff before we bring this to a close?
No, I think we've kind of rambled on quite a bit really effectively, and hopefully everybody has enjoyed our ramblings about the meta. And if there's anything that anybody wants to add to it, add in on either the Facebook page where it's posted or onto the podcast on YouTube at the Community Killer, and just put a comment in there and be like, hey, you guys didn't talk about this. Be like, well, let's discuss it in the comments, or we can discuss it on my Facebook page, or on the Shoulda Boosted Facebook page, or on Mr. Malorian's Facebook page, all the way through.
Yeah, it's all kind of like our guesses and our opinions, and we'll see if, like, 6 months and a year from now, if we're just wildly off or what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I want to know about the Denmark meta. I want to know how they end up figuring out their meta and how and what's going on there.
I hear they're all garbage. There's like a whole bunch of horrible minion players.
I hope that there's some like amazing minion players and they challenge you and they absolutely work you over.
Oh, they will. They will. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. I think Ian already kind of shout out where you can find us. So that's been our podcast. We'll catch you later.
Have a good one, everybody.
Boom. And there's our second one.
Boom. How's that? 2.5 hours and we knock out 2 episodes. We had 2 weeks worth of content. We didn't even have Mark.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to close up the stream. I hope you guys all enjoyed the stream. I will be doing this regularly again. Alec, yes. I agree. Underwhelming on the table, but I super want to paint one. And I wish there was a little bit more to it. They could have done so much more with that thing. I really hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I will catch everybody later. I'm back. That's the biggest takeaway from this. I am back, and I am ready to do some more games. And Mike, I will contact you later so we can get that Mechanolith versus Deathchev game in the near future. So if you guys want to see that, that's coming down the pipe. All right, have a good one, everybody.